It's 75 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
The following is a KMOX Sports Special.
Our city, our spirit.
Welcome to the City Spotlight.
It's in! City goal!
Now, your host, Jen Siess, on America's Sports Voice, KMOX.
Welcome into the City Spotlight here on KMOX Radio. I'm Jen Siess, and we'll be your host for this 1 hour all soccer talk before we get to other things KMOX Radio. We haven't had one in a little while. We actually haven't had one since about the middle of September due to, really great action having the KMOX soccer showcases at different Hot Shots locations. Our last two in September featuring Timo Baumgartel and Thomas Ostrak, which was really great. I hope tomorrow to share a clip of visiting with Thomas on the social medias because it was really fun talking with him and just getting to know each player a little bit more. So we'll share a bit more of that. So we're back in studio to talk about St. Louis City. Unfortunately, not with the high vibes that we had last show. City falling to LAFC at home last game by a score of 3-0. LAFC just really a dominant powerhouse in the MLS in the Western Conference, and really, really looking at them to be one of the main contenders for the playoffs, not just going deep into the run, but possibly with the pairing of Denis Bouanga and Song Heung-min basically being able to maybe take it all. And they were quite something to watch. City officially eliminated from playoff contention. We knew that was likely going to be the case, but the statistical little E is now officially by their name for the 2025 season. We'll get to a little bit more with our analyst, Dale Schilly. We'll have him coming up this hour. We'll hear our pregame player of profile with Makai Joyner and Matt Rocchio, as well as talking with Mr. Soccer Bill McDermott about other things soccer. But first, I wanted to kick off this hour by talking to somebody that I've been watching for the last year, actually kind of through her father posting some things on social media and then checking in and watching her do her thing. Her name is Hope Berkey. She joins me now. Hope, thanks for joining me on the City Spotlight on KMOX.
Hi, Jen. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Now, let me just clear everything up for people who are listening. You don't live in St. Louis, is that right? And you are a St. Louis fan hailing from where?
I am living in Wisconsin.
So you have teams up north you could follow. I got to ask, why City?
Well, I started following Roman Berkey back when he joined City 2 in 2022, and just thought it was so cool that we shared the same last name, and that kind of got me into soccer and got me into a love of City, and I just followed him and his journey to St. Louis, and I have fallen in love with the team and with soccer in general.
That is awesome. And I notice when you spell your name and you spell your podcast, which is the Berkey Breakdown, we're going to talk about that. You have the umlaut in your name, the two little dots over the U. Does that mean there's a possible relation with Roman Berkey somewhere in the heritage?
Yeah, we're researching our family tree, and we're hoping to find that out. He obviously comes from Switzerland, and I have family that also comes from there. So hoping to find a connection there somewhere at some point.
That is awesome. So if you don't mind, I know you're a little bit younger. I actually contacted you through being connected with your dad on social media. Can I ask your age, your grade, and kind of a little bit more about you? So St. Louis listeners who we're used to following the team from here in St. Louis know that, a little bit more about one of the fans we have that live not in our state.
Yeah. So I am 20 years old, and I live in the northern part of Wisconsin. I just finished my first 2 years of college, and I got my associate's degree in arts and sciences from the University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire, Barron County. And I enjoy soccer, watching soccer all the time now, and just spending time with my family and spending time outdoors. And
that's awesome. You mentioned your major. Are you considering potentially something in broadcast, given the fact that you now have your own podcast and or maybe even some analysis because you're following the team?
I guess my possibilities are open right now. I really don't know what I want to major in. So I'm kind of taking a gap year this school year.
Good for you. I'm 51 and I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. That's awesome. So I love that part. So tell me a little bit about, you started following the team, wanted to follow Roman's career. You share that in common with many fans. What made you want to create something of your own called the Berkey Breakdown? I see it often get posted. You do. It looks like some pregame stuff and some postgame stuff?
Yes. I wanted to start a YouTube channel to share my love for the team and to connect with others who love the team. And I have wanted to start a YouTube channel for a while, but I didn't know what I wanted to do it on. And now with my love for City, that really just kind of sparked me to do it. And so every week I do an episode where I talk about the past match from the week and any like transfers that have gone on, any birthdays that have happened within the team. And then I also talk about the weather conditions for the week that the guys will be training in. And then for match days, I do match day weather minute videos where I talk about the weather conditions throughout the match, wherever the guys are, if they're in St. Louis or away. And then my mom and I do a segment called Wardrobe Wednesday where we look over the guys' home match fits.
Oh,
And
when they're walking on like the red carpet to come in before they get in their kits. Okay.
Yes. So, and then we have a rating system of 1 to 5 toasted raviolis, and my mom rates them each one, and we put them into our little rating system.
Okay, I gotta know who had the best outfit, and unfortunately, who had maybe the one that's only got maybe one T-Rav.
There has been a lot of 5s, but I think we've only had one be in one, and I think SETI was the one we had in one at one point.
That's okay. He's getting used to it. That's all right.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So tell me about a little bit more than when these drop. So I want to make sure we have listeners that know where they can follow you, when these things drop so they can pay attention to that, and then what maybe you're planning for the future.
Yeah. So I am on, obviously my YouTube channel is the Berkey Breakdown. I usually post my episodes either Monday or Tuesday, and then my match day weather minutes on the actual match days. And then Wardrobe Wednesdays, usually the Wednesday after the guys have their home match. And I have pages on Facebook and Instagram. You can follow me on the Berkey Breakdown is my username. You can follow me there. And yeah, I will be posting my videos on there as well.
That's awesome. And last but not least, before I let you go, have you met Roman Berkey?
I have.
All right.
I went to see them play in Minnesota back last October. Was my first ever professional sporting event that I've ever been to in my entire life, and it did not disappoint. And after the match, he gave me his jersey, and I also met him in May of this year at the Minnesota match, and he came over and gave me his jersey and gloves after the match. So it was so fun.
That is awesome. Well, Hope, thanks for spending some time with me tonight. Thanks for sharing your information, and so glad to have a City fan, even if you're here or not there. And if you ever do make it to St. Louis, make sure you give me a holler.
All right. Sounds good, Jen. Thank you.
That was Hope Berkey. She is creator and host of the Berkey Breakdown podcast and so many things more. You can find her on @the Berkey Breakdown, and she's dropping stuff all week long. So glad to know that she also met Roman Berkey, and maybe we'll find out in the near future if there's some relation back in their heritage. We'll get some more breakdown coming up from Dale Schilly, St. Louis City Academy Director, assistant coach for City 2, and game analyst on Y98. Dale's up next on KMOX.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-9834. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Now, back to the City Spotlight.
Our city, our spirit.
Once again, Jen Siess on KMOX.
I think I've always felt like the performance from just the mentality, energy, intensity standpoint was always moving in the right way and then moving in the right direction. This was the first game when I looked back and said, this was a game where it didn't look like what we've looked like as of late. We came out flat, maybe a little bit too much respect for them and their current run of form and where they were at, which can lead to a little bit of intimidation maybe. But I felt like a game where we just needed to have more energy, have more intensity to really come out and give them a go, and we didn't have that. So, it's the first time I've looked at it in now 3 months and said, okay, that was way below the standards of what I expected. So now, like most times, it's how do we pick up? How do we get ourselves back together for the last 2 games? And it should start for us this weekend.
That was interim head coach David Critchley talking to the media on Tuesday. Joining us now to talk about that and more is Dale Schilly. He's St. Louis City Academy director. I'm pretty sure he's coming off practice tonight. City 2 assistant coach and your game analyst on Y98 for all City games. Dale, I hope you heard the clip there, and it was interesting. It's very rare that your post-game analysis is all that different from David Critchley's. It seems pretty spot on. What I was a little bit surprised to hear him say is that maybe the guys were a little maybe intimidated by LAFC, and maybe that's why the flatness was there in play.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one, because if you really come out with a lot of energy and you're flying all over the place, they're good enough to ping it around you and make you look silly. So, and I think for me, a lot of we did give them respect, and we could have pulled them down more. We could have limited some space for sure. But I think a lot of that has to do with the quality of the way LAFC played and the way that team's been put together, because they could get a ball out of trouble. We had them squeezed, they were able to play out of it and create opportunities.
Yeah, that was for sure. And I'm a fan of St. Louis City, of course, but as a soccer player, just watching the team as a whole, not only Denny Buongo, who I didn't think really needed help, but he certainly got some in Song Heung-min. Those two are terror twins for sure up top.
Yeah, and look, talking to Steve Cherundolo the next day, because he stayed over for the 2-team game, he just flat out said, I don't need to coach Denny or Son. They coach themselves. Son is like having another coach in the field. And they arrange themselves in their own formation up top as to how they're going to perform against the opposition.
Did we lose him? We might have lost Dale. I know he's coming off of a practice today. Maybe we'll try to.
The line
there he is.
As a 10.
Yeah, we lost you a little bit there, Dale. I'll just go ahead and continue on. But yeah, for sure. I'm with the quality of the players up top, it's not surprising. It's kind of a nice thing as a coach to just let them go do the work that they know that they can do. One thing also David Critchley talked about on Tuesday was, just that Conrad Vollum kind of giveaway, which is very uncharacteristic of Conrad, but really wanting to say, that you get stripped of the ball like that, and of course it falls onto the feet of Denny Buongo, you're kind of in trouble there. But he really was not happy with the fact that you get, not have that ball security in that location for the team. And then it kind of went down from there.
Yeah, for sure. That's a big giveaway, because you got through whatever time frame that was, 15, 20 minutes, whatever I don't remember the.
Yeah, I think it was about 15. Yeah, 15.
But, yeah. And you were doing okay. I mean, you were holding them off. You didn't give up a lot of chances. And for how you were going to have to play to beat them, objective number one was don't give the ball away in the back half of the field. And especially one that was, a situation where you weren't really pressured. There was a little bit of pressure on you, but nothing like a real organized trap and just a giveaway. And then Buongo steps in and scores a goal. And then the other one, Jen, which you're likely to hit on, is just giving up a goal so late in the half.
Yeah. Right
before halftime, you're up there, you're down a goal, just one goal, and you're in it, and you give up a second one right before halftime. That was a killer.
That's I think it leads to a really great question, because you coach. Well, how does that I have to imagine that as a coach, that also hits you in the gut or in the heart when that happens, because it probably changes everything what you were just going to say.
Yeah. You could, look, you get to the 30-minute mark and you've got a pretty good handle on what the game looks like. You've got notes in your notebook. We talked last week, you got video clips getting ready to be shown down at halftime. You've got, 4 or 5 clips. You're going to take 3 of them. You're all set to go. You're ready to walk in the locker room. Heck, Jen, half the coaches in the EPL are already in the locker room at that point. And and then we give up a goal that late. It changes everything, because now you're trying to figure out not how to hang in the game and maybe score a late one. You're now figuring out, how do we get back in the game so we can score our first goal to try to make it a 1-goal game? Yeah, completely different set of circumstances.
Yeah, and I know I'm doing a lot of the Tuesday talk, but I just feel like what David Critchley shared was so important, not only the LAFC, but kind of moving into, as City approaches its last 2 games. He was asked a little bit about, doing what he's been doing to rebuild the team's identity, to take it basically, and he didn't say it this way, but basically taking what kind of happened under Olaf Melberg and bringing it to where it needed to be. And what David talked about, and I think he's making himself a case, and I think he should make the case for himself, is to say a coach really needs a preseason to do that. You need a preseason to what he was able to do with City 2, when we know City 2 is having a lot of success, is establish culture, establish identity, create connections between players, and then you start to get into style and tactics without, and he said, and I quote, the distractions of games. And of course, he didn't get that coming in. Hack didn't get that in year 2. What is that kind of ability, if it's David Critchley or whoever that is, of them really looking at that preseason as the time to make sure that City is who they want City to be for all of 2026?
Yeah, he hit it right on the head. You can't have the distractions of games that limit how you talk and what you talk about during the course of the week. So you need that, what is it, a month? It's probably 6 weeks now that teams are taking for their preseason. So you need that time that you can periodize that 6-week period about how you're going to talk, what you're going to talk about, what's important from week to week or day to day, from a team building, setting a culture and a standard with the team in the locker room, and how they're going to behave amongst each other and work on the field. It's really difficult to switch gears and address that when the season is on, when you have Saturday game, Sunday regen, Monday off, Tuesday train, Wednesday train, Thursday train, Friday travel. Saturday game, do it all over again.
Yeah.
You just don't have time to address all those things.
All right. So I know I'm asking you to look into a crystal ball, but you'll be heading your last road trip with the first team, that is with Austin FC. It brings you back to City's very first game. I know where I was. I was in the Village Pub watching that in year 1, the away game. Kind of bring you back. I'm sure Joey Zanaboni is going to have some analogies for you to bring back to that day. But what's in it for City, and how do they approach a team that, has a pretty good hold on playoff contention and City's out?
Yeah, I think one of the things that Chris spoke about is that this was the first game that he felt like that we underperformed, or that we weren't really up for the challenge. I would say that the FC Dallas game, or Houston, one of them, maybe both, down at their places were similar, where we just didn't get it. And a particular thing about FC Dallas, they're a team that sits deep and absorbs pressure. Austin is the same way. Not to give up too many details about the pregame show, but we're going to talk about some of their numbers, hit, and how Austin absorbs pressure, doesn't really get out and get after it. And that's the type of team that I think gives us a big problem, is the teams that sit back, they don't come out and play, they want to hit you on the counterattack. They're happy to let you have the ball, and Austin has turned into just that team. So we got a big challenge ahead of us.
All right, thanks, Dale. I will talk to you from the Y98 studio on Saturday.
Thank you.
That was Dale Schilly. He's our St. Louis City Academy Director. He helps us out with City 2, and he's always our game analyst on Y98. You can hear him and Joey Zanaboni from Austin. I will be in the Y98 studio on Saturday. We have our pregame at 7 with the kickoff at 7:30. More to come. Stay right here. We'll preview our next Y98 pregame show player profile with City 2 star and recent first-team signing Mekhi Joyner. He's up next on KMOX.
Bell 544-3600.
Fridays mean football. From a zoo to the NFL, we've got your weekend covered.
On three, ready?
It's Friday football on KMOX.
Back on the City Spotlight here on KMOX. We're in segment number 3, and it's time to preview our next City game pregame player profile, this time with Mekhi Joyner. Now, I visited with Mekhi back in May, and Matt Rocchio, he is a KMOX producer and an analyst on STL Sports Central. He was at practice on Tuesday and caught up with Mekhi to catch up on his journey. Mekhi's doing great for the second team. He's, I think, in the running for the Golden Boot. He is a PK taker extraordinaire. I don't think he's missed in like 15 of them. He's done really great. And he also has a first-team contract now and always looking to improve. I hear that David Critchley thinks his intensity has gotten really much better, improved. So a player with a bright future. And Matt Rocchio caught up with him to talk on Tuesday about his journey so far.
So obviously a busy week for you. You're on the bench. You come into the game late, and then you're in action with City 2 also off the bench. What is it like now for you when you're pulling, both first team and second team duty like that?
Yeah, it's pretty fun, honestly. I just want to play soccer and just have fun. So I have fun with the first team, and I have fun with my boys on the second team as well.
Changes the training though early in the week here on a Tuesday like this?
Yeah, just a lot of minutes. So I'm out for a little bit, just recovering, doing the stuff I need to do to be ready for the weekend.
You're now 15-15 in your career in MLS Next Pro. At the spot, you walk in, you draw the penalty, you knock one in. What's the secret for the perfect record at the penalty spot?
I just grab the ball and I'm confident. I know where I'm going to go. I don't allow the goalie to see the fear, and I just go up to the spot and take it in and bury it.
How different is your mindset in a game like that where you face the goalie at the spot to tie the game, and now you're going into the penalty shootout? It's one more point, but it's a very crucial point for you guys, clinching everything for the first place. So when you were immediately going in for a second penalty against the same tender, is your mindset any different? Are you entirely thinking about, I have to pick a different spot than I just put it in? What's that mindset?
I picked my spot when I went up to put the ball down. I looked at him. I was like, I know he's going to probably go the same way. So I just said I'm going to go to the right, and just went to the right. Hopefully it went in, and it did.
15 for 15. Have the teammates come to you for any advice? Because I know you guys have gotten to a lot of these shootouts with the MLS Next Pro rules. So anybody coming up to you asking how they can up their percentage?
No. We all after practice and go and hit some just for fun. So they don't ask me. We just have fun and just take them.
A lot of your second team teammates have gotten called up. You, Seth, Brendan, has there been a little bit of camaraderie in you guys knowing that, you guys have known each other and played each other around a lot? Is it a little bit different with you three and the rest of the roster at all?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think Brendan and Seth fully deserve this for the first team. They worked really hard with the second team, and I also think other second team guys definitely deserve it as well. The whole team is very talented for City 2. Those two and Hazy, plus the whole other team, I think is very special, and I'm super happy for them to get this opportunity.
Let's talk a little bit about City 2. You guys have obviously had a huge season, first overall seed. You guys get to pick your opponent now for the playoffs. Why has City 2 had such a special year? What it is about that team that makes them so special?
Yeah, I think it's just the bond, honestly, off the field. We do a lot of stuff off the field, sitting at lunch together, sitting by new people, talking to each other in the locker room. When we're in the treatment room, no one's really on their phones. We're all just talking to each other, and I think that comes together. When we come onto the field, everyone has the same connection, and a lot goes to Hack as well. He coaches us really hard. Couldn't ask for a better coach for this situation. I mean, he stepped up to the spot, a lot of us going on with the club, and he took us in and just continued to work us every day and how we can get better as a team. So a lot of thanks goes to him, and just overall really good group.
Was that a natural thing that happened, the culture inside the locker room, people putting on their phones and all, or are you guys hanging out together away from the field? Was that a natural thing, or was that something that was maybe pushed by the organization? Did you guys take it upon yourselves to say, we need to find a new level to get to a new level on the field?
Yeah, I think honestly it was more just us bonding with each other after practice, just putting down our phones and just talking to each other. No one told us anything about it. We just honestly did it. And I think it's helped us a lot, honestly. We just came really close, brothers. So, yeah.
2 more games left on the MLS schedule. What is your biggest thing when you go into a game like this in the midseason as you're getting MLS time for the first time? What is your thought about these last 2 games? What do you want to work on? What do you want to show?
To be honest, just be true to myself, be myself. I like to take my defender on 1v1 and go and shoot and score. I think that's what I'm going to start doing for the next 2 games as well. Just be more confident, and I want to put some in the back of the net as well.
And then looking forward to this offseason, obviously next year, you have the first team contract. It's going to be a big season for St. Louis City. Working through everything next year, you got a chance to start. Have you already thought about what this offseason is going to look like for you, what you're going to be working on, any focuses?
To be honest, just focusing on myself. This offseason, I'm going to grind. I'm going to work really hard. I know the offseason is about, spending time with family, and that's really important to me as well. But honestly, I'm just going to keep training and keep working to get better at the things that I'm not as good at
you want to take players on and things like that, and you want to see what you can do against MLS teams over these next 2 weeks. But is there something that you've already learned in your short bit on the MLS field of saying, okay, this is part of my game that I'm going to have to step up if I'm going to be a starter at this level?
Yeah, of course. I would say timing of passes I'm making, and also when's the right move to shoot or to take on my defender. I think that's very important because those critical moments can come down to a win or a loss. I think I need to get better at that, and that just takes film and working on it. And then also I would say how I can get my defender off balance is a little bit different from next pro to MLS. So I'm going to keep looking at that too as well, seeing how I can get my defender to get on his heels more.
You mentioned film work, and obviously as a young kid, I mean, there's not a lot of film work, I'm guessing, when you're at youth teams. So has that been a new thing for you? And how much, I guess, have you grown as somebody when it comes to studying film?
Yeah, to be honest, I wasn't the best at it at first, but a lot of thanks honestly goes to Coach Bobby and Chris. They helped me a lot last year with the film and how I can be better on and off the ball. And then it just led into this year as well with Critch, Baggio, Hack, Sean. So those guys have also really helped me a lot understand the game more when I'm on the ball and off the ball. So
I've caught a little flack from Brendan McSorley. I made a James Milner comparison, and he didn't like that. It's too boring. Doesn't score enough goals. So I've got to work on my comparisons, especially for the goal scorers. So if we're working on a comparison for Mekhi Joyner, what kind of names should we be throwing out there? Obviously, don't worry about the name being too big. Just style of game. I know we've talked this about you too. You like a guy like Lamine Yamal, but if we're saying a guy who plays the way that Mekhi Joyner plays his game, who can we make a comparison to that won't bother you like the James Milner one did for Brendan?
You know, I think the player that plays like me or I play like is kind of like Leroy Sané.
Okay, I like that.
You're like fast, not a lot of moves, but some moves, and you're just pacey and you go at your defender. So maybe him, if anything,
like
but
that.
We'll see.
What did you think of James Milner for Brendan McSorley? I thought it was pretty good.
I mean, I don't think it's bad.
He says he's not fun enough, though. It's like, Brendan, you're solid.
Yeah, he's great.
Every game.
He's great.
What did you think of Brendan's game since, obviously you watch him a lot with City 2. You've seen him a lot now with the first team. What do you think about his game so far?
Yeah, he's a very impressive player. Honestly, a role model. He's a little bit older than me. He's a really good human on and off the field, really good friend as well. So I bonded with him a lot, honestly, since us two got called up at the same time, basically. Just been hanging out with him a lot and just been really fun, and he deserves it. I mean, he played really good for the past 2 years with City 2. He hustles, he works. I mean, if you want a teammate that does all that, then Brendan's the right guy for that.
That was St. Louis City first team and 2 forward Mekhi Joyner talking with Matt Rocchio, KMOX producer and analyst on SDL Sports Central. We'll hear most of that interview on our Y98 pregame player profile next City game. One more segment to go. Don't go anywhere. It's with City Spotlight favorite Bill McDermott. He's up next, Mr. Soccer on KMOX.
Some folks treat retirement planning
with Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Enter now at overheaddoorstlouis.com. You can't win if you don't enter at overheaddoorstlouis.com.
Now, back to the City Spotlight.
Our city, our spirit.
Once again, Jen Siess on KMOX.
Jen Siess back here on the City Spotlight, and we have saved the best for last. Joining me now is Mr. Soccer himself, Bill McDermott. Bill, I hope you're feeling better. I know you were under the weather yesterday, and I'm betting you're watching the Open Cup.
I'm feeling a little bit better, Jen, yes, but the mere opportunity to speak with you makes me feel so much better.
You're so good. You're so good. So I know that it hit me because it's Open Cup is such a long competition that it hit me today. I stumbled across an article. I was like, oh my God, right. Today is the end. It's the end of the 2025 Open Cup, the longest running tournament I feel like in the history of ever. Austin FC and Nashville SC squaring off. And if the internet isn't failing me right now, I think they're approximately in the 77th minute with Nashville leading 2-1. Tell me a little bit about this game, if you've seen it, and of course, this competition itself, which is so historic in our country.
Well, the competition itself, Jen, you alluded to it just a moment ago. It's the 110th edition, 111th year history. And it's really gotten my attention lately, in particular, because the right person's name was put on the title of the competition, and that is the U.S. Lamar Hunt.
That's right.
Open Cup final. If there's anyone's name who is more closely affiliated with the overall growth of the sport, the overall acceptance of the sport in our country, it's Lamar. Not just for Major League Soccer, Jen, but dating back even further to NASL days with Bob Herman with the St. Louis Stars and Lamar down in Dallas. So overall, he is one of the founding fathers of the sport in our country.
And of course, the MLS, not making fans happy. I think it was it 2 years ago when not everybody was competing, and it's still kind of the case to be seen. But of course, we've got two MLS teams in the final. I think it's usually the case, but what's more fun than looking at an Open Cup where an MLS team could get upset by a lower level team? It's always the fun of watching, I think, the Cup, and of course, looking towards what should be an exciting final.
Therein lies the purpose of the competition, Jen. And St. Louis is well steeped in the overall tradition of this competition. Ben Miller's winning it back in 1920. You can go through the names. It's literally a litany of the history of St. Louis soccer. Skull and Steel, Sticks, Barron Fuller, the Central Brewers, Kudus, Bush, the Simpkins. I've just named 6, 7, 8 teams, and you can name the players on those teams. Every one of them is a household name in St. Louis and literally around the country. And there are goodly numbers of United States Soccer Hall of Famers amongst those players on those teams.
Well, you mentioned Soccer Hall of Famers. Let's talk about our St. Louis Soccer Hall of Fame, because there's a couple of bits of news that have come out from their Facebook posts, and I wanted to talk about both. Let's go ahead and lead first, I think, with Pops, Don Popovic, a staple with St. Louis soccer. He has passed, leaving a legacy behind, working with Lou Fuse, I think is most recent. In fact, on Tuesday, David Critchley was told about his passing. Critch did not know at that time that had happened. And he specifically talked about, Pops really making sure he understood St. Louis soccer. He brought him down to his basement and he said there was so much memorabilia there that Critch got a crash course in what St. Louis soccer was all about, and just wanted to get your thoughts on his legacy on the game in St. Louis.
You are an icon in whatever endeavor you choose to pursue when you're known by one name and or a nickname, Pops, the founding father of the Lou Fuse Soccer Club, influencing thousands, literally, Jen, thousands of young men and women, a fabulous player on his own right, and like every typical Yugoslavian, superb on the ball, a master of mastering the indoor game with the New York Arrows when they used to battle the St. Louis Stars, in particular with Steve Petcher versus Steve Jungle. That was up in New York. Then he went out to San Jose with the Earthquakes, played for the St. Louis Stars, coached with the St. Louis Storm, and I can mention all the other things on his resume, but the main thing is, and then I'm glad that Dave brought that up, because when you come to St. Louis as an outsider, it is mandatory that you know the history of the sport in our city. And Don knew that. And like so many other foreign players who came over here to play, Jen, he stayed in St. Louis and made his home there, and greatly contributed to the overall soccer culture in our city. Obviously, in particular, with the Lou Fuse Soccer Club, which is now Lou Fuse Athletic. Both two of my grandsons play for Scott Gallagher. Whenever we go out to Creve Coeur, we pass Lou Fuse.
There's always a battle between those two clubs.
It's always packed. They've done a great job with their venue out there, and it is always, like Creve Coeur, always busy. So, in the words of Monsignor Meyer, when you finish playing, remember to give something back. Well, that's exactly what Don did.
Well, that's great. And I just have one more thing to ask you about before I got to let you go is, of course, the other thing I saw on the St. Louis Soccer Hall of Fame's Facebook page, and Jim Leaker, who runs the Soccer Hall of Fame, asked me, and I read it at halftime. There's an event coming. I think it's October 21st. I was reading on their website, The Miracle of Bern. It was a team that no one believed in. They won the FIFA World Cup. From underdogs to legends, they healed a nation. And it says, one of them was my father, Horst Eckel. Of course, this coming from his daughter, Dagmar Eckel, who will be coming to St. Louis to visit. And I think it's it's being run by the German Cultural Society and St. Louis Soccer Hall of Fame. And people can visit that event and really get into some soccer history that not is just St. Louis, but, reaches across the ocean to Germany.
And St. Louisans have always had a love affair with German soccer, Jen, starting with Soccer Made in Germany when Toby Charles was the announcer. But the miracle in Bern refers to the fact that West Germany at the time wins the 1954 World Cup, defeating Hungary, no less, in the process, with Puskás, Kutschis, Hedekudi, Zoltan Zibor, fabulous players. Earlier in that same competition, Germany had lost to Hungary 8-3 and were one of the best teams in the world. They turn around, end up winning in the 84th minute on a goal by Otmar Walter. But you brought up one of the keys, Jen. It turned out to be a beacon, literally a beacon of hope for Germany going forward after World War II, especially with a sense of a regained international recognition after the loss of World War II. And it began their strong denazification of the world, so that they were trying to prove the fact that every German is not like the Germans who performed in World War II and did so much ungodly damage and murder. So Germany existed, and they now have 4 stars on their shirt because of what began in 1954 with the young Greyhound. That was his nickname. Horst Eckel, the
so he was
youngest
fast, yes.
player on the team, up and down on the right flank, defending, sending passes over to Max Morlock and Helmut Rahn. You read anything about the history of the particular game, Morlock and Rahn were key members, and one of the persons who furnished the ball all the time was Horst Eckel. When they got back to Germany, they were all referred to as heroes, and Horst Eckel said, I'm not a hero. I'm just a normal guy trying to get by. And that's how he lived. That's how he lived the rest of his life, Jen. After he retired, he ended up being a high school teacher until 1973. He studied art and sport. After playing, he was trained as a toolmaker, but he ended up being a high school teacher. So he did indeed, in that 1954 World Cup team, leave his mark for future German soccer players.
Amazing story. Thanks, Bill. Thank you so much for being on the show. Open Cup looks like it's still 2-1 Nashville over Austin in the 86th minute. We'll see who finishes it out. And thanks for your time tonight.
Anytime, Jen. Thank you.
That was Mr. Soccer Bill McDermott updating us on all things St. Louis City Soccer. That last event we were both talking about, German Cultural Society and St. Louis Soccer Hall of Fame welcomes Dagmar Eckel, the daughter of Horst Eckel, who Bill was talking about. That is on October 21st at the German Cultural Society of St. Louis Jefferson Hall. Make sure you check that out. Fun, free event and visit a little bit of St. Louis and German soccer history. That'll do it for the show. If you missed any part of the City Spotlight, you can always find it free on the Odyssey app under the podcast section. It also has all previous content from City Games, so consider it your one-stop shop for all things St. Louis City. You'll hear myself, Joey Zanaboni, and Dale Shilley on the air from Y98 as City is away at Austin FC. Pregame at 7 p.m. with kickoff at 7:30 on Y98. I'm Jen Siess. Thanks for listening to the City Spotlight on America's Sports Voice, and also thanks, Kyle Sixta, on KMOX.
I hear from sellers all the time that they fear they have missed out on the selling market.